Everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be doing a two-part series on the vegan diet, kind of following the heels of the carnivore series that we did just a little bit ago. And so in this first video, we want to focus on, what are the benefits of going on a vegan diet and why do people experience these benefits? And then in part two, we'll talk about some of the health risks associated with going vegan and, ways to overcome those. So I guess to get things started, people go on a vegan diet and usually one of the first things they notice is weight loss, like rapid weight loss. What is going on?
Calorie restriction.
Yeah, inadvertently, right? They don't intend to, but when you eliminate a lot of, animal products, high fat foods, and usually people become more health conscious and they eliminate a bunch of junk at the same time, you're starting to eat very not calorie dense foods. Like they're very high water content, high fiber, and they fill you up. So you're not only eating foods that don't have a lot of calories, but you're eating less food overall, right?
And the foods they usually choose have, it takes more energy to digest them too, and you can't extract as much from them.
Yep. And so, benefit number one of going vegan is weight loss with a high satiety value. In fact, Kevin Hall, or no, was it? Yeah, it was. It was Kevin Hall released a study earlier this year that compared, unrestricted diets that were either vegan or ketogenic, and just compared how people, what happened. And what he found was that the people eating the vegan diet lost more fat mass than those eating a keto diet, and they were eating, even though they had unlimited access to food, they were eating about 500 calories less per day than those on a ketogenic diet. And that's just because these high water, high fiber.
And that was fat mass, right? Not muscle loss?
Correct. Yeah, it was fat mass. The keto group lost more body weight, but that was just because they lost a bunch of water from dropping the carbs. And when they looked at body composition, the vegan group lost more fat mass because they had that calorie deficit. And so, again, that's because of the high water, high fiber, high satiety food choices. At least when you're sticking to whole foods, right? There's a lot of fake vegan foods out there that...
Tofurkey?
Yeah, a lot of stuff that really isn't healthy. Any diet can be followed in a healthy or an unhealthy way.
I've been a vegan before. Those foods still have less calories, even the fake processed crap usually.
Yeah.
If you turn it over, they're just very calorie conscious. I think it's it's a form of an eating disorder for a lot of people. So they are hyper aware of calories.
Yeah.
And so the packaging is smaller usually. And
overall, I agree overall.
Even if it's processed.
But, there are other things like the Beyond Burger in fast food restaurants and stuff that's even worse, more calorie dense, more fat laden than a regular hamburger.
Yeah.
So again.
So another benefit, let's talk about some more. I think the higher potassium content of foods.
Yeah.
I think that leads to people feeling better.
They're going to get a more beneficial potassium to sodium ratio, and that's going to have benefits on their cardiovascular system. It's going to help reduce blood pressure.
Energy.
Yep.
That's a huge
It'll
one.
improve insulin sensitivity and insulin signaling.
Yep. Sleep is usually better for people. That's one thing across the board. They always
eating more carbohydrates, lower stress hormones, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
when you can't eat animal products, you defer to carbs all the time, right?
And so you're going to have less stress hormones because, carbohydrates send a signal that your body is in a fed state, right? At least in the short term. And so you're going to be riding a wave of lower cortisol. Now, over the long term,
nutrient deficiencies are going to build up.
And we'll talk more about those in the next video. But I wanted to kind of stick with, you'd mentioned potassium, but really, a lot of vitamins and minerals can be obtained on a vegan diet.
Yes.
Plants are a rich source of basically every mineral. Even ones that people don't think you can get from plants, like calcium. People always think of calcium, you gotta eat your bones, you have to have dairy products, and it's actually, kale has a crap ton of calcium, and the calcium in it is more bioavailable than the calcium in milk.
But the meme I saw on Instagram last week said that was false.
Yeah, right? But it's because they use spinach. Spinach is high in oxalates, binds up calcium and makes it super low bioavailability. Okay, so don't eat spinach for calcium. Even though it has a ton of calcium, you're not going to extract any. That's fine. No one's arguing against that. Go for kale. Nope, it has super low oxalate content, crap ton of calcium, super bioavailable. And then magnesium.
Yeah.
Every single chlorophyll molecule has a magnesium in the center of it. So plants are an excellent source of magnesium. They're an excellent source of copper, selenium, minerals. Why? Minerals are in the earth. Plants soak up those minerals. That's where we get them from.
Fiber.
Yeah.
Extra fiber in the diet. Like, that's something that a lot of people are lacking.
Particularly fermentable fibers.
Yes.
Right? Fermentable fibers are going to be things like resistant starches, pectins, beta-glucans. And all of these are distributed among things like oats, barley, cooked and cooled potatoes, rice, and then fruits for the pectins, like apple skin is amazing. This is going to have profound benefits for your microbiome and by virtue of that, your entire body.
Especially if you're like swinging from the standard American diet or even the carnivore diet. Like,
you know, and that might actually make people uncomfortable in the beginning. Depending on where you're coming from, if you're eating more fiber, you're going to have more gas and bloating because your digestive system needs to adjust. You're starting to provide food to certain species of bacteria that have not yet taken up a substantial portion of your microbiome composition. And so you're going to have a lot more gas production and it's just going to be uncomfortable. But it's a transient phase because eventually you'll adjust. You're going to start having the right mixture of microbes in your gut that is very proficient at metabolizing these substrates and producing less gas with more beneficial things like butyrate and other short chain fatty acids.
And higher like phytonutrient content of the food if they're choosing plants, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of these fall in plants, but even things like cereal
but I'm talking about like the processed crap.
Yeah.
Like with a bunch of like flours and canola oil, like that's still vegan technically.
Yeah, so obviously there's a caveat here, right? We're assuming you're eating a whole foods based vegan diet, you know, one that relies very minimally on a lot of processed food. Because it's really easy to eat processed food regardless of whatever diet you're following.
Way of your eating.
And so, I mean, that's going to go for any diet that we talk about, right?
Yeah. So,
yeah, mineral content, fibers, high satiety value, lots of water for hydration. And I'll also mention vitamins. You're going to get a ton of vitamin C. You're going to have access to most of the B vitamins. B12, interestingly enough, you can get B12 on a vegan diet. I know a lot of people think that you can't. And no, I'm not talking about mushrooms. I'm talking about spirulina. So I can't remember the value. I want to say like 10 grams of spirulina per day will get you all the B12 that you need because it's a very rich source of B12.
And it's pretty easy to consume in tablets.
Yeah, you can get tablets of spirulina, but it provides two forms of B12, right? 75% of the B12 in spirulina is pseudo B12 and your body can't use it. But it has so much B12 that the other 25% being actual regular cobalamin, being actual regular B12 that your body can use, because spirulina provides so much B12 overall, that other 25% of B12 is enough to satisfy your daily requirements. So you can actually get B12 on a vegan diet if you're eating that form of, it's not an algae, it is a cyanobacteria. But yeah, you can get it from the bacteria.
You can't get a bunch of other shit.
Yeah, but there's other things that are much more difficult or in some cases impossible to get, and we'll cover those in the next lesson. So is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah, so vegan diets are great because high in satiety, they can help you lose weight if that's your goal. They're going to get you eating a lot of very nutrient-dense foods that are supplying water, fiber, and a plethora of vitamins and minerals. But there's also downsides, and that's what we're going to cover next. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.